So in this digital age, it seems that the MP3, the online music purchase, the Spotify, the, songs um, and we've been used to for a number of years a standard delivery system of music. It was LP, then it was cassette, then it was CD. Where does Mitch Dorge see the future of music, the delivery system headed? Are we splitting off into something that we don't know about yet, or is it all strictly going to be online? Where do you see this headed?
I myself have always been a fan of performance. As many bands as I've played with over the years, as many bands as I go and see perform now, I'm always intrigued by performance. I'm always walking away from a room asking myself, did I just experience something? Did I just have a moment in that room? Did I, being one of the 1,000 or one of the 10 or one of the 15,000 people in that room tonight, did I experience something that the rest of the world missed out on?
Right.
If so, then if I can do that twice, if I can do that 3 times, then I think that people will support that, right? They're going to say, this has provided me with something that I want to support. Um, I mean, we're not going to get away from people downloading music.
Right.
And it's just, it's just natural. Well, a lot of people don't see any issue with it. It's just like, there it is. It's free. I'll take it. I like it. What, it would be much like if you could make anything else free to people, they would just take it.
Yeah.
However, whether it be on Spotify, whether it be free on the net, whether just stream in, whether they bought it on iTunes, it doesn't really matter. I think if what you're delivering is real, then people will come to the shows. And if they come to the shows, you're going to be able to do what you do best, which is perform.
Yep.
And you're going to perform the best that you possibly can. You're going to lay your soul out on the line, and the people that are in that room are going to witness and be a part of something that the rest of the world is not.
Yeah.
And if you can do that on a daily basis, you are fulfilling your obligations to yourself as a musician, and you are going to be supported by the other people who you are giving something to. And if you can give it to them in the form of a CD that they're willing to take home, or even if not, even if it's not in that form, maybe it's not in any kind of form. Maybe it's a guarantee that the next time you come to town that they're going to be there to see you.
Right.
And so you're going to be able to play, and you're going to be able to make a living doing it. If you can garner the support, by making either a CD or even just the digital package, right? If people are liking it, they'll support it. I believe that they will, right? But it can't be just, blank, soulless, and it could be like whatever. It can just be, like, I can't remember the German song, but it's like, eins, zwei, pull inside, drei, vier, grenadier, unze. But you know what? If you go in there and you feel something, you're just going to support that, right?
Right.
And so I don't think anybody should feel threatened by what's happening. I do believe that we should be doing whatever we can to make sure that the people that are being creative and they're putting their creativity out there, it would be great to be able to support these people, and we should be able to purchase their music in a way that they benefit from it, so that they can continue to make good music.
Yeah.
That would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
To say that everyone's going to do that, that's a pipe dream, right? That's just not going to happen. So, I'm not going to harp on that.
Right.
But I still do believe that in all the music that I've seen in my life, there are concerts that in my mind are burned in there. They're like, wow.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about going to see The Wall, of which I really did enjoy. But I mean, I've been like little jazz clubs where there's like 35 people in the room, but the music that I heard will stay with me forever. And if I ever was at any place in time and I knew that they were coming to town, I would be there in a heartbeat, right? And I don't care if $50 to get in. You know what? If it's supporting them, then I'm in there.
Yeah.
And I believe that as musicians, what is happening or what can be happening, and this isn't new, I don't think, to anybody, but I mean, when you go into a studio and you've got Pro Tools or any of the digital technology available to you, a lot of guys just go in and say, well, you know what, I'll play whatever I play, and if it doesn't work out, well, you can just fix it. And I think that's creating a little bit of the loss of the love of music, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely love if I can just sit down over here and just play some time, and I've got the ring of the snare drum, and I've got the ring of the toms. Everything's just kind of working out, and I can just lay something down, just the most mundane thing. But if I lock into it, the rest of the world just stops existing.
Right.
And that's what we should be striving for every time that we create a piece of music, right?
Mm.
I think if we do that, yeah, put it on the net. Let it be free for everybody. Let everybody free. Let everybody pick up on it. And but when you come to town, those people will come and see you and support you. I mean, I kind of believe that.
Yeah.
It might be naive, but.
Mitch, you have a website, mitchdorge.com, and then your Facebook. Do you have a Facebook page people can reach out, ask questions?
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you can reach me through my website. There's a direct link to me. This is what anybody else that comes to me.
Yeah.
Mitch D at mts.net.
Yeah.
That's an easy one. You can find that one.
Yeah.
You can find me via Facebook. You can find me via Twitter, except that's something the Mitchy Man.
I got you.
You can find me in all these places. I mean, I've got many fingers and many pies. So, and I really do enjoy. I have to say, and it floors me every time. I'll get an email from somebody who lives in Mexico City saying, Crash Test Dummies is one of my favorite bands, blah, blah, blah. In that song, what snare did you use?
Yep.
Right? And it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. Or I might meet somebody that said, I was at a concert that you guys played at in Birmingham. And you were nice enough to come out and talk to me. Thanks. I appreciated when you did that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's 20 years ago, and people think to send a kind word. There's a few people maybe like to send a not so kind word. I don't know. I haven't had any yet, but by all means, I've as you know, I've got an opinion on most things.
That you do. That you do.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be wrong. I'd like to add that.
Yes.
Even though I have opinions, if someone can come to me and give me a logical argument, or just give me an argument, watch, can I make myself glow again? I'm in the middle of doing music right now for this television guy. So I've got these two big screens that are shining on me, but I've stopped because Sean has called.
Right.
And when Sean calls, you answer. That's all there is to it. What was I saying?
About drummers reaching out to connect, and that's the reason I asked, because you like to connect.
Musicians reaching out to connect, fans reaching out to connect. I think it's an awesome thing, and I do really enjoy the interaction.
Yeah.
One thing I really miss doing, and then as I was out in Victoria a little while back, is I really miss doing like a lot of clinics. I used to do a lot of clinics in Europe, in Germany, of all places.
Right.
I really enjoyed like sitting down and doing master classes and doing those kinds of things. I don't, as you know, being one of my many students that I'm so very proud of. I don't teach in the normal way.
Right.
I try to bring something different to the table, and I enjoy, twisting the minds a little bit and watching people struggle.
Yeah.
Because that struggle, right? You get that thing, and I really miss that. So there's a lot of people that will say, hey, I saw you do a clinic and whatever time and blah blah blah. And, it was cool. I went home and I woodshedded a little bit, and and now I'm ruling the world.
Excellent. This actually, now that you mention that, I've often thought this and mentioned this to my wife, who is also a big fan of yours. Um, who we were talking about it one night, saying that Mitch should write a book, a drum book, but in the way Mitch would write the drum book. Um, has that thought ever crossed your mind, and what do you think that book would entail?
Um, I First of all, that would be something I doubt that would ever happen.
Right.
That I would have that privilege to write something. First of all, probably from the fear that I just don't think anybody would ever want to look at it. I mean, there'd be 5 people or whatever. There's such an abundance of books out there, and in a lot of cases, I think it's perfectly viable because there's a lot of drummers out there, and there's more drummers now than there ever have been.
Yep.
And and as a way to try and share knowledge, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, people are writing books and getting them out there. But there's a real flood, and I think as a young student, or better yet, as a student of drumming, to walk into a store and look at the abundance of where do you start, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be tough, I think. But if I was able to do something, I would definitely try to approach it in such a way that you really wouldn't know what I was talking about until you got to page 56
Right.
or 57. As you know, I believe that a lot of the great drummers, when you read their stories, there was somebody in their life who was a teacher, maybe it was a drum teacher, where they would go in and sit in their class and they would never touch drums.
Right.
Right? A lot I've heard, I mean, many articles I've read about people that went and they studied with somebody, but actually never touched the drums. Sometimes, I've heard stories about people playing piano or sitting down and listening to music or just philosophizing about life. Uh, there's so much talent out there. There's so much available written. There's so much available on YouTube. There's so many, you got Drumeo, you've got, well, there's a multitude of different places to learn.
Yeah.
So the acquiring the skills is out there. You want to learn how to play a paradiddle? We can take Tommy Ago's book. You want to play some Latin? We can go, Mr. Sanchez. You want to do brushwork? We've got all this stuff out there. What we really need to do though is cultivate the human being, and so if I ever had an opportunity to write such a book, that is probably what I would focus on more than anything else. Is asking some questions and making people think about first of all, who are you? What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the drum kit? I mean, these are difficult questions.
Right.
There's so many wonderful questions that can be asked. Taking people out of the paradigm that they live in. For instance, one of the things that we can talk about is why does drumming have to be the way that it is? Why does it have to be everything in a right angle? Why can't it slow down sometimes, right? And what does that mean?
Right.
When you play with other musicians, right? Everybody has to have the ability to lock in together. Everybody has to have a common concept of what time is, right? It's not just the drummer; it's everybody who's doing that.
Yeah.
However, sometimes music should just move. Sometimes it should just be whatever. You should just let it be airy. But if you're just thinking that in a clinical way or in an intellectual way, it's not music anymore. And so, how do we find who you are? Who are we? I mean, that sounds awfully flaky, I think, but when I have talked to some amazing drummers in my time, and Efren Toro. Efren Toro is such an influence. What an amazing human being he is. We would sit and we would talk for hours, and I don't think we ever talked about drums, but we talked about people and the waves and And if you ever talk to Efren, you'll know that.
Yeah.
But if I did do a book or something that was instructional, I believe that it's all out there already. We can find it. We can find all the techniques in the world, and we've got so many people that you got the Moeller technique. You got some of the guy who plays backwards, whatever. But how can we cultivate people? How can we really get people to think outside the box? How can we get people to hear music differently? And what do they bring to the table spiritually when they're playing with other people, right?
Right.
And that's kind of a hard thing to get across, right?
Yeah.
Thus, such a book by me will probably never be penned, right? and truth of the matter, when you think about it, on that subject, well, why would I write that book?
Right.
Efren Toro should write that book, right?
Yeah.
Or Bob Moses should write that book. Bob Moses, when it comes down to who are you as a drummer, Bob Moses is the guy. You put him and Efren Toro together, get them to write a book, right? And they'll write a way better book than I could even fathom, right? Because they understand what all that is.
Yeah. Which now?
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No. When I first approached you and when we first began lessons, I won't forget this. You asked, what was I wanting to do, or I even maybe just preceded it with saying that I was influenced by such and such a person and whoever, and I wanted to learn how to do this, I wanted to learn how to do that. And your answer was very simple. You said, well, I'd like to find Sean Mitchell and bring him out, and that'll be the beginning of the journey, and it might be pleasant or it might be not pleasant, but we don't know yet. And since then, and which is why I've asked you about writing the book and if your ideals. Since then, I've always wondered, when a musician or a drummer, what is the point, do you think, that a drummer should look at, say, okay, I'm done learning technique, now I need to learn how to listen and be a musician. What do you think that point is, or is there a point? Does it just naturally happen?
I think it's kind of a mutual discovery. The problem, as you know, is the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yes.
And you really got to keep, in my opinion, an open mind.
Yeah.
If you think that you've arrived, then you should just quit. You're done, right? The learning is over. If you think that you've arrived, the learning is over.
Right.
And because the true musician, or the true artist, the true anything, understands that you never really quite get there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there will always be something that you will think could have been a little better. And by a little better, I don't necessarily mean executed. As you know, sometimes you'll play a passage. Maybe you sit down and you'll play the drums, and you go, "Wow, I'm happening today. This is really good," and everything else. And you'll play a bunch of stuff. Now, if you turned on a tape recorder and you did the exact same thing, I'd be pretty safe to say, in most cases, what you thought you played and what you really played might be two different things, right?
Yeah.
And when it starts to flow from you naturally, and there are some players out there that, I mean, it just flows. Jack and Jeanette would be a great example. Just go see Birdman. Antonio Sanchez did the soundtrack for that.
Yeah.
And it just flows. It just happens, right? And but I mean, you listen to it, and when those two marry, when what you thought you played is exactly what you played, there's a pretty good start.
Yeah.
Right. Once you've got that, now you can say, well, okay, now what I played is what I thought I played. Now, what about my vocabulary? How can I, this is what I can say now. What can I do to improve my vocabulary? Which comes down to technique, I guess. But what can I do to improve my vocabulary so that I can be more articulate in what it is that I'm trying to say? Or for that matter, I can be vague, but at least I know I'm being vague.
Right.
And that is, I think that is a really difficult thing for a lot of people. Because first of all, now you need to have the confidence to know that what it is that you're saying is means something.
Right.
And if you're going to change what you're saying, right, now you're going to go out on a bit of a limb, right? Because I know that I can do this, and I know that I know I can do that.
Right.
But now, okay, well, what if I'm going to change that phrasing? What if I'm going to go a different direction, right? Can I do that? Can I just think it and make it happen?
Right.
Right. So, and that's why I say I don't know that one comes before the other. I think they work in conjunction, and the technique will improve as the player improves. As the player improves, you realize that there's more that you want to do, but you also realize that you need a larger vocabulary to say those things, and so that you go back in pursuit of improving the technique or whatever it is, right? Some people have, astounding technique, right? But then personality has to come out and mishmash. You get it.
Right. Black Page readers, as Mitch said, reach out, ask questions. He's always too happy to answer. He doesn't bite hard. Black Page readers also, comments, questions directed to the magazine, feel free. Leave your comments below. Like us on Facebook, Twitter us, whatever. Just like us, just for being us even. And until then, we'll see you next time.